I'm very, very much looking forward to hearing your comments on part 4, which I'll look at in Facebook. I'll look at it on the. I'm gonna look at the Daily Wire YouTube thing, but mostly I'm gonna look at the BillWhittle.com blog, and I'm looking forward to what you guys had to say about it. Made me cry when I read it, and it made me cry again a little bit when I saw it just now. You know, I mean, that guy is just he's just my hero. I did a little montage at the very end of Neil Armstrong, and I was trying to decide what picture to end on with because I have a bunch of them, and I talk about the picture of him in the LEM for 5-6 minutes on just that one picture, and the picture I decided to end up on, I don't know why I chose this one. It's just the one I like the most. See if I can find it for you here. Just make it a little easier to spot here. So this is the picture I decided to end the montage of him with here. I'm wondering if I bring it in this way rather than just drag it in, if it'll come in at full screen. Let's see. About to find out. Okay. Browse. This is the picture that I liked, we hold on at the very end of the Neil Armstrong segment, which is the second to last thing I talk about. Here it is. I just like this picture very, very much. That's the guy. I have a line that I like very much, and the line is, great men do great things. Timeless men do great things with humility and grace and gratitude. He never, ever spoke about himself on that mission. Apollo 11 remains, to my knowledge, the only mission patch in the history of NASA, which is pushing 200 men's missions now. It's the only one that does not have the name of the crew on it. And that was Neil Armstrong's personal decision and insistence. There's video of him that I wasn't able to get. I was able to use NASA stuff and some stuff like Getty Images here, but there's a lot of stuff I just couldn't get to the rights to. But one of my very favorite moments of his is he did a Bob Hope tour of Vietnam shortly after he came back. And there's a shot of him being introduced by Bob Hope, and he comes out in his normal shy way, and people are reaching forward. And he goes over to shake the hands of one of these soldiers, and more people push forward, and he can't stop. He's not going to leave anybody hanging. He goes down. He just goes down this line of soldiers in Vietnam and shakes every single one of their hands, and then he comes back to the microphone, and he says, "You know, I've been around the world a few times," and he wasn't trying to be funny there, but people laughed anyway because he has been around the world a few times. He said, "But this is by far the best welcome I have ever had. Thank you very much, guys. It really means a lot to me." That's just a Bob Hope tour in some nasty part of Vietnam, surrounded by soldiers, and that's where he was. I've seen so much video of him. That seemed to me to be where he was most comfortable is not the word. I'm not even sure satisfied is the word. Certainly, of all the applause he'd gotten in his life, it is pretty much clear that that's the audience that meant the most to him. And I'm just very sorry that I didn't get a chance to meet him. But I really did do all of this work pretty much for him and for Bert. And what do you say about this guy? I think he's the greatest American that ever lived. And he's one of the greatest people that ever lived because of his humility. See, maybe the thing I like about this picture is that this is so far away from what they did on First Man, where he's just this neurotic, robot, bad husband, bad father kind of thing. I don't remember that Ryan Gosling smiled once in that movie, but if he did, it was just for a moment when he wasn't being torn apart inside. But this smile is just, it's great. And I'll give you one more preview. Let me ditch that first. This is my second one of my favorite pictures of him is this one right here. Hang on a second. Just add it right here. It seems to be working. And here it comes. Ready? I mentioned this in part 4. It is absolutely amazing to me and very, 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 very gratifying to me that of the 12 men that walked on the moon and the additional ones, because some of them went twice, that went to the moon, around the moon, and so on, of all of them, who took the most enormous risks in history, did the most difficult and dangerous thing in history, they all died of old age. Who could have imagined that? I just wonder, who could have imagined that? That if you'd said to the guys after Apollo 1, if you'd said to them the day after Apollo 1 and they're all mourning the loss of their close friends, Ed White and Gus Grissom and Roger Chaffee, and if you were to sit down with all of the surviving, all of the moon astronauts destined to go to the moon, if you were to say to these guys, I'm from the future, if you're in this room, it's because you were one of the 12 people who walked on the moon. And I just want to tell you, every one of you will die as old men. Martin Archer said Conrad died riding his motorcycle. I don't know how old he was. I know that in the episode I talk about Irwin on Apollo 15 was the first one to go. He was 61. And then there was a long gap between those remaining ones. There are 4 moonwalkers left as we record this show, 4 of them. And Buzz Aldrin's one of them, and Dave Scott's another, and Harrison Schmitt, and I think it's Charlie Duke from 16, I think. Anyway, I did all of this work. I didn't even know it at the time. That's the real irony of it. I didn't know it until I was finished it. But I basically did all of this work and all this research and all of this stuff for this guy. And I sure do miss him. All right, we'll see you next week on the Stratosphere Lounge. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.